So John, thanks for letting me and Sammy here crash.
And thanks for the beer, too.
Not a problem. You, Sam, and Castiel helped us solve a murder. What's up now, Sherlock?
People, that's what's wrong. They have such tiny minds.
We get it. We're inferior, we're meek. What up are you now?
I received this touching email, from a person named Amy. It reads, Dear Sherlock, because you are the smartest person I know. Wrong, this person has never met me, so they wouldn't know how I am. But then again, I am the smartest person I know, so I retract this statement. They are half wrong. Anyways, continuing on. So, I thought you could help me. Can you have morality without God and religion? Sincerely, Amy.
No, I cannot see how that is possible.
Jesus!
No? Castiel.
You look like Harry Potter.
Hey, lay off him. Listen, Cass. We don't need morality with God. I mean, sure, Sam believes that mumbo jumbo, but I don't, and I came out perfectly fine.
Says the man who just cut off someone's head, burned the body, and stuck his hands all over the corpse to warm said hands.
First off, it was cold on. And don't pull that high and mighty shit on me, buddy boy. You're the one that kept the head in the fridge.
It was for experiments. I want to see how much saliva can be collected over a dead body. But then, John had to ruin my experiment by throwing away the head.
Sherlock, it was leaking all over the eggs. You had a head in the fridge.
I'm confused. Do all people put heads in their fridges?
Nope. Just our science nerd here, or the occasional, demon murderer.
Well, anyways, I think not necessarily, because, I mean, the way me and Dean grew up, we were always doing things that I don't think most people would find morally right, but if we didn't do what we did, a lot more people would have died.
Damn straight. Plus, we learned everything that we needed to learn from our dad. I didn't learn a thing from the man behind the green curtain.
God doesn't have green curtains in his office. Although, I think I've heard that he has yellow ones in his office.
Good job, buddy.
I know you don't believe in God after everything we've been through, Dean, but without a God to lay down the rules, doesn't that make morality unacceptably relative and arbitrary?
Whoa, wait. Why would you say relative?
Well, if you humans were the ones who said what is right and wrong, then those who say that killing is right will make it right. God said that killing is wrong, therefore it is.
If that's true, Castiel, relative to what you're saying, and relative to what God says, what stopped God from saying that killing is right? Let's say he has said that killing is right. Does that mean I can go about anywhere I want and kill whoever I want?
I suppose so.
A good God wouldn't instruct his followers to kill people. So, if God is good, then a good God would never do that.
Wrong, no evidence, moving on.
Sherlock.
Not good.
Moral principles take form of commands, right? So, where there is commands, there must be a commander.
Though, why must we obey the so-called commander? If I were to command John to get me tea, does that not put him in any moral obligations to make me such?
If you don't end up stealing mine.
Not the point, does it obligate you or doesn't it?
No. You're perfectly capable of making your own tea, you just don't do it.
So why would I by anyone's commands? The commands by themselves do not generate moral obligations.
Your commands do not make moral obligations. God's do.
Why?
I guess because we're obligated to obey God's command.
Obey God's commands? Come on. Why would we be morally obligated to follow God's commands? Like, if I told you, Rapunzel, to go cut your hair, will you do that?
My hair is fine, Dean.
Yeah, sure. But hey, if there's a fire, we can just use you and your braid of loveliness as an escape route.
Sure.
Anyways,
John, respect.
getting back to the point, I've noticed that you guys have a book that I read when I was at Stanford that kind of, I think they have a part in the book that connects to what you're talking about. It's called Philosophy of the Basics. You guys have this book.
Yes.
I believe there's a section under right and wrong that can connect to this. Where is it?
Good, you're not the only bookworm here, Sherlock.
Shush you. Anyways, right here, the UFO dilemma. I knew it was in this book. Right here it says, the dilemma for someone who believes that morality derives from God's commands is as follows. Does God command or love what he or she commands, or love because it is morally good? Or does God's commanding or loving it make it morally good?
Sam, good, but doesn't that make morality in some sense independent of God? I mean, wouldn't that mean that he or she discovered morality rather than creating them in general?
Good point, John. You could say that God just provided us with more reliable information about morality than what our brains could possibly fathom. But if God creates right from wrong and right from wrong, simply from what God believes, then he still could have declared that murder was fine.
So, hey, wait a second. What about that dude? I think his name was like Khan or something.
Immanuel Kant?
Yeah, sure, whatever. Didn't he say not all duty-based morals were based on, religion? Like, didn't he say something about the moral action is more important than the one that you do to get something in return?
Yeah, I remember that. It says, for Kant, the reason behind the action was more important than the actions and the consequences.
That might be so, but Kant's ethical theory in particular has views on moral judgments, has been criticized for being empty.
Yeah, according to Kant, if you and Sam were to hide from Crowley, I would have to divulge where you are, even if it led to your deaths.
Okay, then didn't we get our morals from religion?
That is true. Most religions do have a moral system that they use, but then again, the ancient Greek gods did not lay down any moral commands, which is a good thing. Zeus tends to have a wild side when he drinks too much wine. We had quite the mess up in heaven during one wine festival.
Wait. Zeus is real?
Hell yeah. So the other gods and goddesses. A few years back, Sammy and I busted into a conference meeting they were having when Michael and Lucifer were basically whipping it out to see how big their...
What Dean is trying to say is that they were all trying to figure out what to do when the apocalypse was started.
An apocalypse?
Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
It's a long story.
Getting back to our discussion, people usually pick and choose which religions they want to follow, or they pick and choose and twist things to fit the way they want them to fit.
So what, we're back at square one again?
It appears so.
So how are you going to reply to Amy?
Amy?
Yeah, that's the girl who started this entire thing. That's the reason why we started this entire conversation.
Oh, her. I sent her a response ages ago.
What?
Yes. I told her that if it wasn't a case, that I wasn't interested, and that if it was a question of that nature, that I could not simply answer it, because there is not enough data, and everyone has their own point of view, and sadly I can't tell if we're wrong or right. Data, once again. Good news. The Strahd has a case for us. Come on, we have a murder to solve.